Okay, so we are now recording. Can everybody hear me? I just want to make sure everyone can hear me. Okay, good. Before I start a presentation and have someone say, "Oh, I can't hear you." Is my volume good? Just got to check the volume here. I think I have it on high, so okay, good. All right. So we're first going to go over, I don't know how familiar many of you are with elemental magic, but we're going to go over some basics first. And then we're going to, at the very end, we're going to apply it to demonolatry. And again, I'm going to go ahead and I'll send you links to the recording of the meeting, as well as I'll also give you the handout. So I'll send that after the class is over. Because the handouts today are actually really, or the presentation today is actually really kind of fun. It's good stuff. So first of all, it'd probably help if I opened up that particular program and had it ready to go. If I was paying attention and doing my job here and not being a slacker. All right. So there we go. So I'm going to turn off my cam for a second, and we're going to go to the desktop. So I'm hoping you can all still hear me. Although, you know, if I get rid of the cam, I might... Okay, so I'm going to click on the chat here. I want you guys to be able to see my desk. Can everybody see my desktop at the moment? It's the AnyMeeting screen. I want to make sure everyone can see what we're looking at here. So I always have my little slideshows. Okay, now remember during the presentation, try to keep any messages like brief so I can actually read them, because it only gives me like, you know, a few words to a sentence. You guys don't argue over here. Sorry, cats. So if anybody needs me to pause or go back or something, we can always do that afterwards. You might want to save really long questions for the end. Just jot them down in your notebook. I hope you all brought a pen and paper. I hope everyone has coffee and water and all that stuff too. So we're going to start with the elements. I mean, we know the elements are earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. And these are actually pretty universal, occult-wise. So earth here, there's a symbol for earth there on the right. And it rules over stability, strength, home, patience, foundation, balance, health, animals, plants, work, decay, money, the physical world. The colors, as you could imagine, are brown, green, and black. Some people will also use variants of gray. Magical components: cast iron, herbs and stones. Probably the most prominent magical practice associated with earth magic would be necromancy. But of course, you know, I mean, obviously, like, you know, wealth and prosperity magic would also fall in here. And any, you know, anything having to do with animals, healing, maybe healing animals, creating healing infusions, teas, that sort of thing. So, the demons of earth. This is just a small little example, and you'll notice, like, in your Goetia texts, Belial is always listed as fire. And in a way, that's Belial is kind of a fire with a fiery overtone, but he really is earth. That's one of the reasons he's celebrated during a solar rite in the middle of winter. So it doesn't change. The season is winter. For tarot, you've got coins, discs, pentacles. and the direction in basically traditional witchcraft, modern demonolatry, and a lot of Western magic is north. However, if you get into alchemical stuff and Kemetic workings, you're talking Earth is actually west. So a lot of people don't know that. And even though modern demonolatry slash kind of traditional demonolatry does do the whole Earth North thing, um, over the past 10 years, I've actually started preferring West just because it works a lot better. And you'll see why in a minute. Okay, and of course now you have air. Air rules over all of your mental activities. Any studying, philosophy, ideas, knowledge, intelligence, enlightenment, decision making, reasoning, communication, anything like that, air rules over it. The colors there are white, yellow, and light gray or blue. Magical components are the sword and incense. Magical practices, meditation, ascension, and spirit communication. I'm sure there are other magical practices that will fall in there, but these are, your main ones. Demons, Lucifer, Thoth, Prometheus, Ronov. Tarot, swords, season, spring, and direction, east. You'll notice the right to Lucifer, first right to Lucifer, is in the spring. And there's a reason for that. And east has always been air. Kitties, stop it. And that doesn't matter which way you look at it, whether it's the Western magical tradition, traditional witchcraft, traditional demonolatry, alchemy, whatever. It's pretty much universal. The same goes for fire, whose direction is south. Fire rules over passion, courage, energy, activity, lust, enthusiasm, drama, creative fervor, all of those things that have passion and desire behind them. Colors red, orange, and gold. Excuse me. And maybe even in some instances, if you kind of have like a fiery, watery mix, you're kind of going into the violet area. Something to consider. A lot of magic, a lot of demons of magic have a color violet associated with them, and it's specifically because of that fire-water mix. You get the blue and the red mixed together, you get violet. If you're ever wondering why that was. If you start thinking like that, my whole point in the presentation is to kind of get you thinking differently about the elements. And because we're going to discuss how you can use this thinking during ritual when you're constructing your rituals. So, magical components obviously are wands and candles. Magical practices, energy work, sex magic, fire scrying. Now, well, I suppose we could go into talking about wands and crystal versus wood. Old-fashioned, old-school wands are made out of wood. New finagled, new age wands are made out of crystal. Crystal's a stone. It's kind of more of an earthy thing as opposed to a fiery thing. Just my opinion. You can disagree with me if you like. However, a lot of wands do include stones in them. So it's something to consider when you're working, creating your magical components and tools. Demons of fire, Flurios, the Asmodai, including Asmodee, Asmodeus, Amdusius, and of course Ronov. Wait a minute, why did I stick Ron? No, not Ronov. That should have been Rosier. I'm sorry, Rosier. Interestingly enough, a lot of people say Astaroth is also kind of a fire air, and I actually kind of see that more as a fire, air, water. So there's like 3 elements in Astaroth, but that's my personal take on that. Tarot, wand, season, summer. Definitely any fire rite is a solar rite. So the middle of summer, obviously. Direction, south. Of course, we can't forget water. Water rules over emotions, creativity, wisdom, empathy, intuition, fertility, insight, beauty, and mental health. So, if it deals with our empathy or emotion in some way, It's probably a water type thing. Um, for people to really follow through with their creativity, they need some fire in their chart too. A fire water combination is. Oh, it didn't. Let me go back. There's fire. There's water. Did it go back? Okay. Colors, blues, grays. Some people will use white, and some people will even use like a seafoam green. Magical components: cups, chalices. Magical practices: divination, ascension, transformation, and spirit communication. The demons, in this instance, excuse me, Leviathan, Dagon, Delepatori, and Seshat. A lot of your sorcery demons tend to have water in them, but they're also fire. Just because there's that energy, there's that creative energy. Remember that magic is like a creative. You're creating something from nothing, generally. Tarot cups, season autumn, right to Leviathan, is an autumn, right? It happens on the autumn equinox. And the direction is west in traditional witchcraft and modern demonolatry, but north, excuse me, in the alchemical and Kemetic schools of thought. I need to get a little bit of water here. Pardon me. Okay, now we're going to talk about the spirit or the quintessence, or the fifth element, as some people call it. And it rules over all things. It binds all the other elements together. It is the whole. It is like what the elements exist within. It encompasses all colors, all magical components, magical practices, more importantly, ascension, spiritual ascension, personal ascension, but it does cover all magical practices. Demons that often represent the spirit or quintessence include Satan, Atem, and El. And tarot, major arcane, season all, directions all. So, now we're going to take a look at the elements and diagrams. On the left here, you see the common, you'll see this common on Wiccan sites, the spirit, water, fire, earth, air, all encompassed in the pentagram. Now to the right of that, you can see that I've put a right side up pentacle and an inverse pentacle right there on top of each other, because I want to kind of show you that the pentagram, the pentacle right side up, is the 5 elements. The pentagram inverse is man in control of the elements. So, and if you look at those and place those pentacles on top of the tree of life there, you'll see there are 10 Sephira, and there are 10 points on your right side up and inverse pentacles. So, a lot of left-hand path religions will use the inverse pentacle because it's man in control of the elements. You create your own life. You are the architect. So, but of course, in demonolatry, you kind of have the balance. You can use both. You're in control of everything. That's you as the magician. That bottom point of the inverse pentacle being Malkuth, or excuse me, there is no T evidently in Hebrew pronunciation, I guess, but regardless, everybody knows it as Malkuth, so unless they actually speak Hebrew. Right side up, the top, the spirit, the quintessence, is Kether, the crown, or Keter, or Kesser in this diagram. You have a different different spellings of each Sephira depending on where you go on the internet to grab your diagrams. So, if you kind of, I know, right? It does get kind of confusing. It's all the same thing. It's just, you know. So anyway, if you kind of overlay those pentacles onto the Tree of Life, they don't match up exactly, but it's kind of the same concept. Now, you can see how the elements play a part in your particular, in your tree of life diagram. Some people call it the Qliphoth when they use demons in place of angels. It's the same damn thing. Every man's tree is his own. Those of you taking the Working the Tree workshop will understand that more by the end of that class. So, basically, when you're getting down into man, Malkuth, down at the bottom there of that tree of life, that is earth. That is where you start. Okay. Tiphareth, which is beauty, that is air. And then Bina is understanding, and that's water. Cups. Again, it goes into that whole emotional understanding type thing. And then, of course, there you have Chakma wisdom, which is fire. Okay. And before you can get to the fifth element, which, of course, is spirit quintessence, or Kether the crown. So, some of this is probably old hat to some of you, but for some of you, this may be a revelation. You may not have understood the symbolism before. It's rather interesting. The elements in alchemy. Let's kind of take a look at some of these diagrams here. I don't know how many of you are interested in the practice of alchemy, but the elements play a very big role in there. And this is where we're going to actually discuss how the elements, how it actually works better if you put water north and you put earth west. So we always say earth, air, fire, water, but you'll notice here on this left little diagram here, the one that says prima materia at the top with the yin yang, it goes water, air, fire, earth if you start north. If you start west, it's earth, water, air, fire. And if you look at which elements are fixed versus which are volatile, it gives you the salt, the sulfur, and the mercury, and how that kind of breaks down. Okay, and we could go into more alchemical discussion here if we want to, and we're going to a little bit, but I'm going to just kind of leave that diagram for a second. We're going to go into the one in the middle. If you notice again, the rotation of the elements, that's what this is. The rotation of the elements makes more sense when you put water north. So water and air create moisture, air and fire create hot, fire and earth create dry, earth and water create cold. That's kind of how the rotation of the elements works. And that's why in a lot of rituals you'll find water north actually works a lot better. Now here you have an elemental triangle here with all of the elements, and it kind of gives you the same thing, the rotation of the elements here. So water is wet and cold, fire is arid and hot, air is cool and dry, earth is warm and moist. So it's kind of interesting how it all kind of works together. I'm just going to leave these symbols here, and when you actually get your, yes, it can actually. Yeah, that can be actually cut out and made into like a little 3D pyramid. So definitely something to consider. But when you get your handouts, you can like study these more and just kind of think about them. That's one of the whole reasons I included them, just to get you thinking. I want you to think of the elements in a different way because they're very important and they exist in all magic, whether it be demonic magic, witchcraft, hermetics, whatever you're doing, no matter what kind of magic you're practicing, Western magical tradition, you have elements, and they all play a very important role. For example, let's go a little further here. Those of you who are familiar with the Rosicrucians, there on the left, that is the Rosy Cross. And if you'll notice, you've got water and fire opposite each other, again, south-north. And you've got air and earth opposite each other, which would make it west-east. And you've got all of this different symbolism in here that you can kind of look at to see exactly what that particular cross actually means. Yeah, not so Christian when you look at that, huh? So definitely give that some thought when you have time. And then to the right, we look at the astrological signs. And it gives you basically which element each sign is and whether or not it's cardinal, mutable, or fixed. So, all of this, any type of magic that you look at, or any type of astrology or metaphysics in general, is built upon the foundation of elements. Okay? Even in our invoking and banishing pentagrams and hexagrams, or pentacles, I guess. So you can kind of see here how you do invoking and banishing for air, fire, water, earth. You can also find diagrams all over the web that will tell you how to do invoking and banishing hexagrams for all of the different planets. And which I'll probably discuss that more in the planetary magic. Am I teaching planetary magic? I'll have to look that up. I think I am. So, yeah. So that's another thing for you to consider. All of this, because it's all very important, and the fact that these things exist in various schools of occult thought, kind of tells you just how important the elements actually are. No matter what you're practicing. Because a lot of people will say, oh, demonolatry is just like witchcraft because they do the whole elemental circle thing. No, not necessarily. Not at all, as a matter of fact. Let's get into demonolatry elementals real quick. From the Ducante hierarchy, I haven't really worked with goetic elementals as much. Obviously, there are some. They're the four kings, okay? And then the spirit, I suppose, would likely again be Satan and the Goetia. So, right? Exactly. My little plaques too. So of course you have Leviathan, Lucifer, Florios, Belial, and Satan. And of course their seals. And then of course for the Goetia you've got the four kings. And most people will actually probably throw Lucifer there as the spirit. I don't know. I guess it depends on the person and who they're venerating as their all. So, end of slideshow. Huzzah. So maybe now I can stop screen sharing. And can I have my cam back? Let's see if it's going to give me my cam back. Please give me back my cam. Yay! Okay, is everybody good? Okay, now Martin, you said that is something that has bugged you for a long time. Is that the, are we talking water, west, earth, north, and vice versa? That does bug a lot of people. A lot of people find it uncomfortable. I've always kind of found it uncomfortable. And that is why. So I just noticed when I switched it around, it made everything work. So let me just see. Okay. Just want to make sure everybody's here still. Right. Mm. Mm-hmm. No, I actually had a certain person who will remain nameless totally chew me out for pronouncing the T when I was uh, naming off the Sephira. So, so I could be wrong because I don't know either way. I don't speak Hebrew, so. Elemental magic is elemental magic. The difference is in demonolatry, you actually invoke demons. Demons that may correspond with that element or the concept of that element. And we're going to get into that here in just a second because now we're going to actually discuss how you take that information I just gave you and what to do with it. Okay? So, you remember all of those, the properties of each element that I was giving you, how, water is more for divination, and, if you're doing spirit communication, you may lean more toward air or whatever, or maybe a combination of air water, depending what you're doing, because if you're doing spirit communication plus divination, you might want to mix the two. So that's where this comes in. When you're working with specific demons, each demon has an element. Now, in Goetia, sometimes the goetic elements for demons don't necessarily match the Ducante elements for demons, and there's reasons for that, obviously. Belial is earth. Belial is, venerated during the slumber of the earth, which is basically decay, which are all earth, are all more earthy type, what do you call it? More earthy type things. So when you have that, but at the same time they're saying he's a fire demon. The only way you can reconcile that is to say, well, he is venerated on the solstice, which is a fire. Well, solstices are fire rituals, regardless. They should be done during the day for that reason. I don't care which demons you're working with. So, you just got to think it through. That's really what it comes down to. So, for example, one of the questions I often get is, why would you take, for example, let's say you're doing a ritual for, let's say you're trying to hone your divination skills. So you decide to do a ritual with Leviathan and Astaroth, and you're going to invoke both of those demons at each elemental quadrant. So why would you do something like that? Or why would you take one demon specifically and invoke them from all of the elemental quadrants? Or why would you choose quarter quadrants, like, northwest versus southeast or whatever, as a marker to place your goetic, to place your triangle of art when you're doing goetic ritual? Why would you do those things? And a lot of that is elemental. It's based on the element of the demon or the particular influences of the elements that you're looking for to make the magic work. Is everyone understanding what I'm saying so far? Okay. I just want to make sure that everyone's kind of following me and I'm not just talking in circles. Okay. So yeah, the biggest difference in elemental magic versus demonolatry is basic elemental magic, you're just working with elements. Demonolatry magic, you're combining demons that are those elements with with the elements. That's the difference. Because demonolatry always is about the veneration of demons. So, and working with demons in magical for magical means or purposes. So, can anyone tell me why I might choose to, say, invoke Belial from all the four quadrants? Why might I do that? We'll get into that in a minute, Martin. Okay, and why would I invoke it at all four elemental quadrants? That's right, I am working with earth element properties. Well, the focus is earth, but why would I do that? What happens when you, say, mix earth with fire? Okay. Interesting. Right. Okay, good. Jennifer's got it right there because of how Belial interacts with each element. Yes, that would be a good thing. Strength and healing, maybe. Right. Everything is interacting. So, let's say let's say I'm looking for stability in my life. But if I take Belial east, maybe I'm looking for stability in my thinking and my thought processes. And if I take him south, I'm looking for that stability in my passions and desires to keep me grounded and to keep me from jumping into decisions without thinking them through. And maybe if I do Belial north with water, let's say I just want to keep myself from daydreaming too much. I need to keep myself grounded and keep myself maybe taking my own advice. So, you see what I'm saying? Right. So each time you take one elemental demon and you invoke them from a different point, a different elemental quadrant, you're actually combining elements. So if you're not invoking them from the direction of the work you're actually doing, like some people, if you're just doing, say, something from the east, let's say you're doing something because you need to study, you're working with Ronov, you're trying to pass a test, you're in college, and you invoke Lucifer from the east, you may just invoke Lucifer from the east. Oops, I froze. Let me see if I can unfreeze myself. Turn off the cam. Turn on the cam. Am I still frozen? Please don't be frozen. Oh. Any meeting? Why are you a pain in the ass? Can anybody see me? Negativo. Okay. Let's try again. If at first you don't succeed, try again. All right, I have another option that we can try. If not, you're just gonna have to listen to me. So hold on, we're screen sharing again, right? Can you guys see the screen share? Okay, good. To do what we did last time. It's okay, because I've got the other camera recording here. All right, let me go back here. See if I can get it going here. Maybe? Or did I blow it up? Let's see if we can get this going here. Can you guys see me now? Alrighty then. Well, here we go. I want to minimize a bunch of this crap. Okay, good. We're back. It's a good thing I'm tech savvy or we'd be screwed. Okay, so where was I before we had our issue? We were at... Okay. Okay, so Martin was asking about, you don't have to... Okay, let me explain why in all of the beginner demonology books we tell everybody you have to build an elemental circle for each thing. Because noobs can really hurt themselves with demonic energy. It's for balance. It's not for protection. It's not for anything crazy like that. It's to keep the magician balanced. Now, when you're just beginning and starting out, you need that balance because until you actually get used to working with demonic energy. As you progress, however, you will find that different ritual constructs will work differently. So yes, you may actually go ahead and invoke 4 different fire demons from each of the quadrants. So you can do that. You don't even have to use the 4 quadrants. You can do triangular ritual constructs. You can invoke 1 demon for the entire ritual and be done with it. However, when people are starting out, it's just traditional that we teach people exactly how to keep themselves balanced. So does that make sense? That's probably something if I should really address in the... Yeah, exactly. Okay, yeah, exactly. If you are one of those people maybe prone to depression and you work with too many water demons, it could absolutely cause depression. Too many fire demons, you could actually faint. So it depends on the person and what you're doing. If you're doing gate opening and you're working with just fire demons and you're just starting out, you probably will pass out. Either that or become severely dehydrated. So that is why we do the whole, why we push that elemental circle construct on people just starting out. And that's why it's the one used in all of the beginner books. So yeah. Okay, now let me see if I missed anything else with our camera issue. Let's see. Does it really matter if you invoke the demon from their prescribed elemental direction first? No, not really. I mean, it depends what you're doing. It really depends what you're doing. If you need balance, then yes, it does. If you're looking for balance and stability, maybe it's a low-key ritual, and you need that balance and stability and that particular environment that it creates, that an elemental circle creates, then yes, you really do want to invoke them from their prescribed elemental point. But if you don't want to, I mean, yes, you can apply elemental properties to whatever element controls are within you. Okay. Let me just double check, make sure I'm not missing anybody. Actually, too many earth demons tend to make people kind of lazy and slow to action. They tend to and that can also cause depression too. So, is everybody else having problems with the audio? Okay. Well, I will have the upload of the actual. It might just be that I'm pausing a lot too. If for any reason the audio cuts out completely, please do let me know. But I can actually turn off the video when we actually get to the portion where we're doing the elemental balancing. So that way you guys can hear me better. So I'm mostly just wanting to kind of go over and see if anybody else has any questions for right now. Does anyone have any other questions about? So you guys are starting to kind of get how this works and how you kind of implement that into your magic. And why you would take Astaroth and maybe do maybe a invoker from the northeast. Because it would be kind of a water air thing. And how that works better than if you do west east. It just works better. So okay. Those arrows are representing the direction in which you draw the pentagram in the air. So you would start, say, well, let's go back to that and take a look. So for example, if the air, let me just do this one. Yeah, from the current slide. Let's look there. Okay, so it's bigger. There we are. So for example, if you're invoking air, you would start there at that particular line and you draw the pentagram from there. Do you see what I'm saying? And you would do it backwards if you were banishing. You would start at the very top. Okay, that's what that is. That's basically showing you where you start and how you draw that particular. Oh, okay. Yeah, Steph, you gotta hit the escape button. Okay. So yeah. Okay, go ahead, Mike, that's fine. So a healing-centric invocation setup, you might go with probably, I'd go northwest. Northwest because you've got both the earth healing and you've got the water healing. So you have kind of like a combination, especially if you're talking like severe diseases. And as for demons, there are very specific demons for healing, but there are different demons for healing different things. So it would really depend what kind of thing you're looking to heal. Like if you're looking to heal some sort of more of like a physical ailment, like maybe a broken bone or something, you might actually look to Booer. You may look at Vereen for healing more severe illnesses and diseases. Well, you could do Vereen out of the west. Specifically because she deals more with, or Verrier actually deals more with herbs. Vereen, I would really go northwest. So yeah, physical, depending on what it is. If it's like an actual, like a disease or something, I would go with Vereen. If it's more of a broken limb or a cut or some sort of injury to the physical body, I'd go with a Booer. If it's more of an emotional healing that you need, I'd go with Leviathan. Just, it would depend on all of the elements involved. Because sometimes, okay, so I would try Booer. Yeah, and you can get away with going directly out of the west for that. Or northwest. Both would work for Booer. Okay, so Mike's question. All right. Okay, so banish with earth from every direction. First, why not banish with the proper element in its proper direction? Well, I don't really think... I guess it really depends. I don't tend to banish at all when it comes to. I'm really bad about that. But then I dwell in demonic presence, so. But if you're dealing with like just elementals, because just elementals can be pretty vicious. When you add the demonic element, they tend to. I don't know. It tends to take out that aggressiveness, so to speak. I usually just politely tell them that they can go. I don't use the banishing and invoking pentagrams or hexagrams. So, but you could banish with earth from every direction first. You could start. I meant with the proper direction, and then just go from there. It doesn't really. I personally don't think it makes a big difference. I don't think it makes a big difference if you do it from every single direction. I mean, you're just pretty much prolonging a ritual and making it even boring for anybody observing. Because I think you can get the same results just from banishing from its proper elemental direction. And doing it in the opposite order in which they were invoked. You know what I'm saying? So, well, yeah, there's that. There is intention behind it, of course. So, yeah, it does. It does. Any strong demonic presence in your home or temple just completely wipes out anything, generally wipes out anything nasty. I still do. That doesn't mean I don't still ward the house and I don't still like do periodic cleansings, probably quarterly, but every couple, 3 months or so, 3 to 4 months. But that generally will take care of that. So if there is anything, which there usually isn't, and I don't completely banish demonic presence when I do my cleansings either. So okay, we can talk about wards. Each of the wards, as a matter of fact, has an elemental association. So we could have a talk about that now if you want to, considering it's still covering elements. You just have to give me a second to go get a visual demonstration. Is everyone interested in that? Or does that sound boring to y'all? I don't want to bore anyone. I know Tanya's like having to keep herself awake with tons of coffee. As a matter of fact, she may have fallen asleep already. Okay, hold on a second. Let me grab my visual demonstration for that. A good thing we're in the temple because it's right here. It's a good thing we are in the temple. Because I'm no more than about 5 feet away from everything I need. Okay. Tanya's only nodded off a couple of times. That's okay. She'll have to watch the video. Okay, so. Where are you, my dears? My warding symbols. Nope. Keep going, keep going. And I only say that because they're nice and big in this book, and I like them because I can put them in front of the camera, and you can all see what I'm talking about. So, here is our earth warding seal. This particular one is earth. And I'm going to move it to the other camera too. And this is usually placed on your, depending which direction you're placing your elements, either your west or your north wall of the home. Not necessarily just your temple. You can do that all the way around your entire house. You can even put them on your property. Bury them on your property somewhere at each of the quadrants. So here would be your, oops, there we go. Here would be your air, that's air. So that is the air warding seal. I know I have warding seals in the Demonolator's Guide to Demonic Magic. I did not tell anybody which element went where in that book. It is in this particular one, though. I don't know if you guys have the sigil and altar book. Some people, you almost have to be in a certain group to get this one, but here is the fire. Okay. That one is fire. And finally, water is just like, it's just an Ankh, really. And that is that particular warding seal. There are 4 of them. So there you go. Now, that is really like the ultimate in elemental warding, so yes, yeah, it is very Venus-like. And of course, Venus rules over emotional love, that sort of thing, so that completely makes sense. Although a lot of people think of Venus as fiery, actually Venus is a little more watery. This one is the Sigil and Altar book. It's actually a Gen Dem publication. Yes, wards are basically to keep things out. That's what a ward is. It is for protection. It's to keep other people's crap from entering your house or your property. So, and that also, that doesn't include just the physical world either. It includes the astral world as well. And mental. I think any magician involved in any type of group activity should probably practice warding. Just because of bitch wars. I know that sounds terrible and it sounds petty, but unfortunately, humans are that way. If they're not opposed to cursing somebody else and there's a jealousy involved, curses will be thrown about. You can do that. It's not as thorough, though. It doesn't always work. The problem is, and here, let me tell you kind of an experience that I had recently that I actually had to go to a friend to help me out of this situation. Yeah, I live in demonic presence, so I do have the demonic sigils, the elemental sigils around the house. I have sigils all over my house. And they didn't ward anything. I actually was attacked by someone who practices Palo. And they actually sent the dead to do their dirty work for them, obviously. It's Palo. And they were able to get in under my defenses, under my demonic defenses. They were also able to get through my wards because they work at a different level, that the demonic didn't catch them in time before they got in. They'd already gotten in before the demons came in and took them out. So there are certain things that not all wards are going to catch all things. And not all demon sigils are going to catch all things either. So, I actually had to go through and make a deal with my deceased ancestors to protect myself from that happening ever again. So, it depends on how you're being attacked, whether or not that is going to work. So, I mean, it'll work against most astral stuff. It'll work against most spiritual stuff. And it may even work against harm to your family or property. But there are still ways that a creative... oh yeah, the wards, those are specifically for protection. However, they do tend to protect the physical and the astral more than anything else. When you get into, and by physical I mean like the actual dwelling itself, the dwelling that you're using the wards on. I don't mean the physical person, like you as a person. You've got your psychic self-defense that you use to keep yourself, you know, sane, from not being mentally attacked, you know, not having nightmares, that sort of thing. But then there are other ways that people can get through to you. So, yeah, exactly. You're not going to have, hopefully nothing's going to burn up. But I actually did have my health attacked by the dead. And funny enough, when I went and made the deal with my own ancestors, and I was able to get rid of and do a bunch of chakra cleaning and balancing meditations and all of that, and some Reiki, I was able to get rid of what was done to me. But unfortunately, it had already hit me before anybody realized it had gotten through all my defenses. So that's something to consider when you're talking about protection magic. And even elemental magic, isn't always a cure-all for everything. I mean, elemental magic is part of every type of magic by default. And also, and what we're going to get into next, is that each of you is made up of all those elements as well. As above, so below. So each of you have specific elements that you may be more aligned with and more comfortable with, making you more potent in certain types of magic. And likewise, elements that you may not be as comfortable with, and maybe certain types of magic you're not as good at. Excellent. Rainbows and unicorns. I love it. Oh. So I imagine a lot of you here have tested it to see what your elemental makeup is. Is there anybody here who has no clue what I'm talking about? Okay. Good, a couple halves. Oh, good. Okay, so you've got your chart. Okay, so most everybody has their chart, it appears. So there you go. So okay, everyone except for Mike. No, I'm kidding. I'm just teasing you, Mike. Oh. So okay. Then you kind of know where you are elementally. Okay. Well, you can go to, I actually use a software called Alabe, but they have a website. You can get a free chart off of their website. And it pretty much runs the same thing that I get. And it'll give you a very basic chart. And it's Alabe, ALABE.com. Let me actually type that in here. And I love their software. It actually works really good. But I do a different type of reading when I will do people's readings for them. I actually had to start charging for them because they do take a bit of time. Because I actually go through and I actually look at your chart as as you being a magician. And I look at all of your elements, give you your elemental breakdown, tell you different things that you might be good at, may have problems with, that sort of thing. So, and most people are things like for example, I'm the earthy part of water generally overall, but magically I am the watery part of air, or the airy part of water rather. So I've got like a water air thing going on magically. So it's kind of interesting how everybody kind of breaks up. And there are other like specific things in people's charts that basically explain a lot about their magical practice. So like a Mars Mercury conjunct in the upper left sextile generally that's like an indicator of someone who's like not a badass magician, but that was their like destiny. They're almost like predestined to be magicians the rest of their lives. And it's very rare. I've only found it in 3 charts. And sadly, the only other 2 people that I found it in, I did not like very well. So well, magically speaking, I'm talking basically you can actually, like, necromancers have a specific chart. Like, you can look at somebody's chart and say that's a necromancer. I can look at somebody's chart and say that's somebody who walks between worlds. They don't always live in this world, but they don't always live in the other, in the astral either. So no, I don't think there's such a thing as the Harry Potter of magicians. You want them to have water in all of the magic houses. There are 3 magic houses. If they have water in there, that's a really good indication that they're a magician. If they have the Mars Mercury conjunct, that's generally an indication of a lifelong magician, someone who's going to stick with it, who isn't just a dabbler. So yeah, and there's some people who are really balanced. Other people are psychic beyond measure. You can tell all of that from a chart. So yeah, I actually do provide that service. So if you're interested, just let me know. Yeah, it's really kind of interesting. I actually learned how to read magical natal charts from a friend's mother. So it's actually pretty interesting. So, and no 2 charts are alike. I finally, for the first time, like I think it may have even been Deborah's, found someone who was so elementally balanced which is a great thing. That's like totally awesome. That's so rare. You just never know how rare that is. Yep. There you go. Oh, you guys are funny. Yeah, so Deborah, your chart is very unique. I've read a lot of charts in my time, and you're like the first one I've run across who actually had an elemental balance. So. Ooh, nice. And I have 4 water, 3 earth, 3 air, and 2 fire, I believe. So I've got the whole earthy part of water thing going on. That's funny. Oh, good. Well, see, and that's the thing, is I always find it interesting. Like, I'll read charts of people I don't even know, and I'll be like, ooh, necromancy. And they're just like, how did you know? It's like, well, it says right here. So, yeah. It actually pops out at you when you... And it's amazing how many people... Well, actually, I shouldn't say amazing how many people, because, I mean, I think I've only read the charts of about, like, I don't know, 10 or 15 necromancers, but that's over how many years of reading charts, and how many charts have I read too, so. So anyway, when we find out what our elemental makeup is, there is a ritual that you can find in, I believe it's probably in both the Complete Book of Demonolatry and Demonolator's Guide to Demonic Magic. It's also a free download, I believe, over at demonolatry.org, if I can speak. The Elemental Balancing Ritual, where we go ahead and we take all of our elements and get them out of ourselves, and then we bring in fresh elements in equal amounts into ourselves. Now, for some people, this will work and will make you feel really balanced and happy. For other people, it may make you feel off-kilter. It depends on your elemental makeup. And so each person's unique in how they react to this exercise, and that's what we're going to do now. And I'm going to go ahead and stop that video.